Shall we pray? Wonderful, gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity to be here this evening. We thank you for giving us such a wonderful community with excellent schools and police services, firefighters, for those who care for us. And we thank you for this council and pray, God, that you give them the wisdom that they need to be good stewards of all that you have blessed us with. This we pray in the name of our Creator. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, in your packets, you had the minutes from our last meeting, from 1/21/20.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. All right. Committee department reports. Chamber is not here tonight. Finance. Steve is stuck in Atlanta. Okay. Fire.
I'll pass on my part and let Carl talk about it. We had a meeting last night, talked about some things, so I'll throw it over in his court.
Okay.
Thank you for that surprise there, James. Reference the ordinance pertaining to increasing the insurance requirements for contractors. I guess we were needing to find out where we kind of stand on that.
We had talked about that before, and I think we brought it before the council to forego the bonds and go to an insurance.
Yes.
You fellas remember all that?
I do.
And we were just kind of wondering where it was laying at. Do we need an ordinance or?
Yes.
Okay.
So, if you can get the notes on what you're wanting.
Yeah, just get it to me.
I'm sorry?
Just get it to me.
Just get the information to you.
Just get the information to me and have an ordinance ready for the next meeting.
Okay.
That work, your part there, James? All right. Information, some things that's been going on with fire department. As you all well know, the first street up here has been reduced to one lane due to a vehicle accident that occurred some few weeks ago. The whole situation, one vehicle versus a building, and with the age of the structure and probably the speeds that the driver was going, it was an extensive and intensive operation in order to get him out. So between the fire department, police department, street department, Adam Squires Towing, as well as Above All Good Towing, we appreciate everybody's help there. Like I said, it took a all hands effort. Again, the seriousness and the way he was trapped, it was one for the training records. With about 175 years of experience out there working on this young man, it was quite the experience the way he was trapped. So, but as far as we know, First Street was reduced down. We contacted MoDOT to find out what their stipulations were on having a roadway shut down, and basically they don't like it, but that was about the extent of their intentions. So as far as MoDOT's concerned, yeah, it will remain closed, but they're just not happy with it. So some other stuff going on recently. We did have a severe carbon monoxide call at a local business, and it was due to a heat exchanger in the heating system that had malfunctioned and broke. And they started having several occupants that were getting sick. We sent one to the hospital with approximately 4 to 5 others that refused treatment on scene. But again, carbon monoxide. Building code requirements does not require businesses that do not have sleeping quarters. It does not require them to have carbon monoxide detectors. But I would recommend for the general public and you all that if you own a business, put a carbon monoxide detector in there if you're running any type of gas appliances. So again, we were fairly lucky. Extremely high levels of CO was detected by the firefighters. They in turn contacted the CLGW, and they concurred with the same information. And again, it could have been a lot more serious within just a few more hours. We could have very easily had a fatality out of that. So, we did recently also, other events going on. We had a situation the other day where we had 2 CPR in progress incidents going on at the same time. It came within the same minute at different locations across the city. So, again, thank you to our first responders, police department for assisting us on that. We did have 1 ambulance available while another ambulance had to come from outside the city. So I just want to make you all aware that occasionally a CPR event is very personnel time consuming, and and unfortunately it was not a good outcome for either, but yeah, it's pretty serious stuff that we have to face on a daily basis. Another thing kind of going on, don't know if we've talked about it, but in construction of Station 2, it was kind of, the thought process was, is there any way that someone could come in and maybe rent a portion of the structure? If we built an additional part of that structure, would there be any organization out there that could benefit from it? One such corporation or company, not a corporation, a company, Survival Flight, has expressed huge interest that if we go through with our constructions at Station 2 and there is a room available to them, they would very much to be involved in this as far as any type of lease agreement that we or you all as a city come up with. So they are very interested in this move. He said it would definitely be a win-win situation for us as an emergency services group. And that would include their helicopter base moving out here to the airport, as well as providing a landing pad, which a lot of this, the landing pad I do know can go through on a grant process. So there's some things that we can add to the existing grant money that we're going to shoot for to help them out as well. Again, their location right now, it's adequate, but the airport would be a much better feasible location for them. And as a fire chief, I feel like it's necessary that I throw out there to you. If we can hopefully try to keep our air service in here as far as air ambulance, the city is much better off having it. So I just want to throw that out there. I did meet with them today just to get the general consensus about what they thought before we went any further with bringing them up and again talking to the fire committee and the rest of the council just to kind of introduce themselves. So
Sounds like a win.
that's where we've been out there today. Grant situations, finishing up on our AFG grant this week, our fire act grant, which we're shooting for additional fire turnout gear, as well as replacing our aging SCBA fleet. The air packs that we wear inside burning houses running about 19-year-old right now. So that's something that we will qualify. Talking to some area fire chiefs that we stand a good chance of getting that grant if we put it in for it. So we finished that up this week. Next week I will start with the building as far as the different grants and the different opportunities that we'll have. So next council meeting, I'll have a lot more information on our grant situation for our fire station.
Thank you, sir.
I do have one more thing. Tyler Roberts has some information regarding insurance on the compress. And if that's okay with you all, I'd like to give him the floor for just a minute and possibly explain a packet that he has prepared for you.
All right.
Mayor, council members, it's that time of the year that we have to redo our building property schedule and get it sent into the insurance company. One thing that I talked to them about is whenever the property schedule was sent in, me and Miss Brenda had been working on it for a couple of weeks. They had a few questions on the compress buildings. I contacted Jim Gravings at CLGW, and we got an appraisal value on these buildings because we were going to go with the appraisal value for the building value. But it turns out that because we did that, Myrma contacted us back. Anyway, long story short, we are paying a lot of insurance coverage on buildings that if there was a total loss, we would not recover any type of monetary value back. The buildings out there that are deemed to us non-repairable, that would cost too much money to redo the electrical system, redo some of the doors, pour new concrete. If something came through tonight, say a tornado and knocked it down, the premiums we're paying in to cover these buildings, we wouldn't even get that money back. So what I did was I prepared, on page 2, I got the conference buildings. Now, some of the buildings on there are marked A, C, D, and E. Right next to that, I put the numbers of the building as we renumbered them. And then on the 3rd page, I have listed the conference outline of the buildings. The buildings I have next to it are ones that we are currently not paying a premium on. So the way that it was kind of explained to me is it's kind of like liability on car insurance. That they won't give us anything if something does happen to them, but if somebody does get hurt, trespasses, gets hurt, the city will still be covered. We'll still pay that. The buildings that are not X'd out are the ones that we have current coverage on. So what I would like to ask is by taking buildings 7, 8, and 9 and pretty much doing it from say full coverage to just liability only, taking them off the property schedule would lower the dollar amount. Currently, the total building value out there that we have on our schedule is a little bit over 13 million. By taking those buildings out, it would decrease it down to just a little bit over 7 million that we would be having to pay a premium on. And then these buildings here, I spoke with Jeff and Matt from Irma, and if we did have a significant loss in the buildings, we would not recuperate anything back. So we're essentially paying a premium that we're not going to get any return on. And then the other buildings that we would like to still keep paying a premium on, they recommended, as a city as a whole, to figure out if, say, a tornado did come through and knock the buildings down, would we rebuild a building on that, or would we just level it, clean it off, and keep the ground? Because that, if that was what the city would do if something, we did have a significant loss, then that needs to be our property values, the cost of leveling it and taking everything out. And that also would lower our premium amount. So
I need
that's
that answer by,
as soon as possible. The property schedule is actually supposed to be turned in Friday, but since we had these questions, they're giving us a little bit of time. So I was just asking to see what everybody would like for us to do on that.
Which buildings would that be on?
Buildings 7, 8, and 9 are the
Okay.
ones that, if we took out of the property schedule, then that was what would bring our,
It'd be liability only.
yes.
And then
yes.
if the tornado did wipe it out,
Right now, if it did knock them down, we wouldn't get any money, period.
Right.
So we would still be responsible to take, clean up the property and haul it down.
a lot of that would need to go to the industrial committee.
Yes.
I mean, I know what my recommendations, I think, would be is we would probably end up just leveling it. But we'll let the industrial committee do that. So we'll have them do a meeting as soon as possible, and at the next city council meeting, we'll be able to give you your definitive answer, and you can turn that into Myrna the next day.
Is there any more questions?
will that be enough time?
Yes,
Sure.
yes, they're working with us.
Okay.
All right,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Good work.
All right, human resources.
Nothing for the public at this time, but I do believe we have a closed meeting afterwards to discuss some personal issues.
All right, Amanda.
We too would like to request a closed meeting afterwards. And Tina?
Okay.
Only one closed meeting.
Okay, for January, our total intake was 72 dogs for the month. We returned 11 to the owners. We had to euthanize 2 due to aggression. And we transferred 60 of those to rescues, mostly outside the state of Missouri. everything that they needed health-wise was paid for by donations, and all of their health certificates, everything, so it cost city nothing. And we currently have 19 on intake. So, any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, police.
I think I'm just gonna turn it all over to Chief Wilson. I like that.
I have here, if you will, there's 3 different stacks. I'll just take one copy out of each stack and pass it around. This is gonna be on the computers for the cars. I know there's been a lot of discussion about it here lately. To answer your question, you had in a committee meeting, 202,000 is the worst case scenario. That's the most. Each one of those is breakdown, depending on what programs and stuff we get for the computers and cars. That's what it's gonna cost. I don't know, I know the council's not gonna make a decision tonight on it, but I will tell you this, there's a lot of companies involved in putting this together. So the sooner we get the nod to do this, the faster we get the computers put in there. Because we're looking at anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks.
Possibly even 12.
Before we can get the computers in the cars. So the sooner we make a decision on this, the better it's gonna be, for us. Most of that stuff's for information only. If you guys got any questions, Brad was good enough to come to the council meeting again tonight to answer any questions that we may have. I apologize for not having that in your council package, but a lot of information had to go into that, and Brad's been working quite extensively getting all that information together.
This is the total expenses for everything.
But they're all different, right? Which one do you all recommend?
The one that has everything in it, that's the one we're looking at doing.
Is that the first one?
That's probably the back page will tell you what the, I
2,000.
think
Yeah,
the back page
200,000.
cost. It ranges anywhere from 155 up to
Yeah.
202.
The 200.
Yeah, the 202
Okay.
is the worst case scenario. But also keep in mind, Leslie has looked at 2 different government grants that we may qualify for technology. I think one of them is a reimbursement grant, the other one is a matching grant. We could get one, we could get both of them. So, but only time will tell when we start to get the application process started. And I know she's going to start on that immediately. Also, Walmart will be opening up their grants this month. We can apply for up to $5,000. So we'll apply for that grant. In the past, we've always not had much trouble getting that grant from Walmart. So we'll apply for that and apply that towards the purchase of the computer. If you got any questions, now would be a good time, because Brad's here to can talk about the technology side of it a lot better than I can.
It's something that we're gonna have to do pretty much. I mean, and we'll also be saving $170,000 a year from the city work. So in 2 years, it'll pay for itself.
Is, with the worst case scenario, 202. Is that something that can be paid out over, 2-year period of time, or is that
It's a possibility. So there's a solution to that if the city needed to look at it. It's called device as a service. So basically, you could do monthly fees onto the device. There's some qualifications that have to be met. I think one of your problems might be grants. If you do a grant would probably want, like a reimbursement grant would expect the entire amount, and then you'd have to flip around and, just get reimbursed for that. So it would kind of depend on how the city wanted to do it. If you guys were footing the bill, then obviously you could look at a device as a service. Some of it would have to be paid immediately. Basically your software vendors, which are kind of towards the back of the packets. They're not going to work on a monthly, they're kind of stuck where they're at with it. And then the mounting solution, that's something I probably have to ask the mounting company. And, so that's MSRP that you're looking at there. So hopefully we're going to, of course, adjust that down. I'm kind of hoping on the 201 scenario to be actually $9 or $10 grand less than that. But I can't, until we know exactly which way we're going, so if we're gonna go CAD, then I can work with the vendors tomorrow to reprice that to make it true numbers. But, you know, there's so many variables. You can change this little piece, add this little piece, you know, so it's right now kind of difficult to
And
get an
I'm
exact
assuming if we break
cost.
it down to a payment plan or something, we don't get a discount.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, that'd probably go, yeah.
On the grants, what percentage? Was it, you know, it's out of the 202, is there, you know, $50,000 in grants out there, is there $100,000?
That's hard to say. I don't know if there wasn't a price on the technology grant or the reimbursement grant. We probably won't know that until we apply for them.
How many will we have to buy at a time before it goes into a bulk discount?
So we're hoping to get a bulk discount with that number there. From talking to them, that seems to be possible. Especially if we're looking at so your software is taking a big amount of it, and we can't really get a bulk discount from software companies. But on the actual solution side of it, the computers and the mounting solutions, they would obviously be very interested in giving us a bulk discount. We just, you know, the main thing is until we know for sure the solution, they don't want to just throw out numbers and then throw out more numbers, and so they just recommend, at least right now, this is the worst case scenario of MSRP, and then we could possibly back that up a little bit to be a little bit closer to a better range. I just, there's a lot to it. It's pretty intricate, and you've got about 7 different vendors involved in it, so there's a lot of hands, you know,
Right.
a lot of people to contact and talk to.
I would hate to buy, say, 15 when 16 would be the magic number for it to be considered
Sure.
a bulk deal.
Yeah.
So that's why I was
Yeah,
asking.
and usually the way bulk pricing works is you know, there's probably a limit at where bulk pricing begins, but then as you add more, you begin to see, so you know, we could possibly look at that. Kind of my idea is that 24 seems to be the magic number with equipping everything. We throw that number out there, and then if we decide to afterwards, 24 is too much, or it's not a big enough discount or whatever, then we can of course decrease. You'll have to play the scenario of getting less money the less you buy, but you know, it's.
I know we do have a finance committee meeting on Thursday, and Chief has agreed to be there to go over that, so we'll have.
Do you want Brad to be at that meeting also?
Yes, it'd probably be good for, because I'm sure Steve and the rest of the committee will have a
Sure.
few questions that nobody here can answer but you.
And I think I can have pretty solid pricing by then, as long as I mean, this is kind of getting to know where Kennett wants to be as far as, are we looking at CAD, is that a feasible thing, or do we want to back off of that and look at, so the 3 packets, one is basically your CAD now, you do everything now. The other one is the capability of doing CAD later, and then the third, and the CAD, by the way, is computer aided dispatch. So basically it tells the dispatcher where the police officer is. It can also tell the police officer the next call. It's got all kinds of little neat things it does. And it all ties into the highway patrol system. And so officers are using less, you know, they're not going between programs. They're kind of stuck in one program, which is convenient for sure. But anyway, and then the third one is not doing CAD ever. And by that I mean, like, you can't ever add CAD or you're going to look at serious money, because everything has to be put in when you do the purchase. You can't retrofit like a GPS component into the laptop later.
Yep.
The cradle that would hold the laptop for GPS stuff would require like a radio antenna to go into it. So then you have to talk about a different cradle. So then you've got a lot more money than your original investment if you go a different direction. So if you guys are thinking CAD but not really sure on it, I can probably narrow it down to the 2 of looking at CAD and CAD capable versus the other end of that.
I mean, I just think if we're gonna do it, might as well do it.
Yeah, I agree.
The CAD would be very beneficial for our communications. If something was happening, radios went out, we'd still have the CAD system back up on. So, I mean, it'd be very good for the city. Obviously, we've got to look for the money in this too.
Well, that's what I was telling you, I mean, 170,000, 200,000, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't have 170, we don't have 200, but, you know, either way.
Also, there's gonna be a yearly maintenance fee, and that's 23,000 for every year. It's not included in the
that's-
first year, is it?
Right, yeah,
We
so
don't have to
it's,
pay that first year,
those are,
but after
those
that-
are additional years. So that includes your mules, your CAD and Interpol stuff, and then your AT&T service for every device, because every device would be connected through a data service. Obviously, and I always say this wrong, I always want to say safety net. FirstNet would be the city's best bet on that. That's the pricing we're looking at for all of that, and that's the full CAD solution. So if you don't do CAD, I think it's 15 to 16,000, and I'm doing this all in my head. And I've looked at a million numbers in the past 2 weeks, so anyway, but that's pretty close.
And we're currently already paying for mules, correct?
Yeah, but that's just for in-house. There'll be an additional fee for putting in the cars.
And that breakdown is on that last page. Speaking with the Highway Patrol, they have like a specific way they do it. So the initial setup would cost just under $3,000, I think. But then every year after that, it's less than $800. Mules is kind of your cheapest component in all of it. But
If you had to give up a round of, say, the cars that we're trying to get, would you hold off that purchase while we dealt with this?
Oh, that paperwork's coming now.
That's another topic for discussion for later.
I mean, we're just have to talk about it in the finance meeting and see where we're at, to be honest. I mean, we're gonna have to do it, just pretty much where we pull the money from, to be honest.
Well, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah.
Any more questions as far as the computer stuff? All right. Last thing I got is a report back from the academy on our 2 recruits. Academy director is very pleased with both of them. He's pleased with their progress. They're doing really well. They both seem to be very motivated, so we're looking forward to getting them out of the academy and getting them to work. Other than that, the rest of the stuff I have is for closed session.
Can you hang on a second, Chief, for me? We
okay.
want to go with, we've got a couple of things that we need to finish up on, follow up on. We've got the bill for the trailer, the traffic trailer that we've got and had refurbished. It's $3,370. And originally we said we felt like we could take that out of transportation tax money, but could not find it anywhere in the minutes. So I'd like to make a motion that the revitalization of the traffic trailer be paid for out of transportation tax money.
That sounds good.
First and second, all in favor?
All right.
Passes.
Also, we have still the issue on Ely Street, on the east end of Ely Street, and the people along that street are asking for a second stop sign, and we really can't, this is really a street department thing, but it's still followed up from my ward. What we were wanting to do was maybe test drive the traffic trailer down in that area and see if that would help control it. And at the same time, Terry, can we put up a sign that says speed is radar enforced or anything like that?
Sure.
Okay. So do we need a motion on that? Is that how we do it? Just do it?
Just do it.
Okay. So Keith, take care of that for us.
Check into that.
So we're gonna, right now, we'll see how this runs for a while, and we're gonna still keep working on a solution to it.
Can we put one sign on each end of the street?
That's what we want. Yeah.
We have had several officers sitting out there
Yes.
shooting radar and
Yeah, Chief and I have had a
really haven't
conversation on it.
caught speeders.
Right, it's just, well, but it's being viewed as an issue, and we need to treat it as an issue, so that's what we're doing, and, we'll follow up with you all on it as we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Street.
We need to close the meeting, and we're gonna change some city ordinance. And, that's pretty much it. I'll turn it over to Keith to tell you about the ordinance we're gonna change.
Y'all got, I'm sorry that wasn't in your packet, dude. I'm gonna blame this on Brad too, a computer glitch. He changed me from Windows 7 to 10 and that didn't get sent out properly, but anyway.
Just admit you don't know nothing about computers.
Apparently not enough. That ordinance y'all got, there's a letter there that was from then Chief Malott to then Commissioner Carter, saying that needed to be changed from code enforcement to street department, that it probably should have been in the first place. So we've marked some things out and changed a few things there, and Terry said he's gonna take care of getting that written up for us, and we'll bring it to the next meeting. The only other thing is that's it. We were going to get ready to start we're going to take sealed bids, get ready to run it in paper, sealed bids for our concrete work and asphalt work for this coming season. And once we get something with that, we will bring that to y'all, and we know get the numbers in. If y'all don't have any questions, that's all we've got. No, there is one other thing. I'm sorry. I'll add something else here. City Light and Water was gracious enough to donate us a truck that they were getting ready to get rid of. The Mo Crew ambulance runs, but it's not in the best condition. You got to use ether to start it. And we've had a few issues just in the couple of months that we've had it of repair work. So we thought if we got that truck, that maybe between that and the ambulance, we could at least keep them going this year. They can drive one while the other one's getting worked on and drive it till it quits, and then we'll work on the other one a little bit. But the truck seemed to run pretty good. They actually went to get it, and the fuel pump was out, and they put that on there for us and got it going, so it runs pretty good. So hopefully we'll be all right with that. And we'll get those signs taken care of on Ely Road, on each end of Ely Road. That's all we've got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, CLGW.
Chief Spain, that's not the only vehicle that CLGW is donating.
Yeah, thank you, Keith, for reminding me of that. Yes, CLGW was gracious enough that they did have a sedan 2006 Malibu that was going to go up for bid, and we inquired about it, and they graciously moved it over to our safety officer's position. So, David, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Keith.
y'all.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Keith, for bringing that up.
Don't bring them back.
I'll give you an ambulance. That Keith's going to give you back.
All right. So Keith also did storm. So industrial.
I got storm.
Oh, you got storm.
Yeah. We're looking at a company combining with CLGW that lines pipes, and that might be a solution for us on some things. And it's a minimum of $100,000 to get them here. But I think probably you guys already have enough of it. But by them doing it, we can go under their contract and get them down here also. And so we've got, we're still working on the price, but ours is probably going to be about $20,000 worth of work. And just try to get these pipes that are giving us trouble taken care of. So we'll keep you updated on that. Shelton Pond now belongs to the city, so we're going to be working on that to expand that and help control the drainage issues out in that part of the city. And Terry, have you had any luck about who owns the ditches and where the tax money is going to?
No, I haven't.
Okay, when you get a chance, I'll let you know. And that'll do it right there.
All right. Anything from industrial? Nope. Not for tonight. All right. Unfinished business. We need to have we do have David Wilkins here. The purchase of the South Bypass property by the Board of Public Works. And if there are, I know there was a description in the packet from a couple of weeks ago that described it. Mr. Wilkins has graciously said he'd come up here and answer any questions that you may have. And then we can have the second reading and vote.
That's right, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your attention tonight. And yeah, we just decided, we'd ask you to consider, I think it was January 7th,
the ordinance to allow us to purchase property out on the south bypass, just west of Kelly Electric, for the future potential solar farm to go out there. So we understand that there was some questions, and we're here to be glad to answer whatever question you have.
One of the things, the location was chosen because of visibility, isn't that correct?
Correct, yeah, the solar panel, it'll work anywhere as long as it can see the sun. But in talking with several other communities that have done this, some very, very large communities, personal friends with the general manager of one of those cities, who attempted to save money by buying 40 acres outside of town, and it just didn't work. They all said the same thing. If you're going to do it, if we're going to do this investment, let's do it where it needs to be. It adds another couple of months or 6 months to the payoff. It's a safe investment because we know that it's going to pay itself off in about 15 years, and then every year after that we're making a profit. So if we can add another 6 months longer to that payoff and have it where we want it to be, that's what we're looking at and talking about.
So what's the benefit of it being so visible? Yeah, and the reason I asked that is because I just assumed y'all wanted it there just because of the proximity to your main facility. I thought that was just.
That is true. If we can have it there, it's a little more protected from vandalism maybe than if we do or what have you. It's also, we know, we've already had engineers come down and look at this site, and they okayed it. Because we have to have some pretty big conductors, the three-phase conductors that feed the power back into the city. They have to be there, and they're there. Now, that's not to say that they wouldn't exist somewhere else in town.
Right.
But again, to have it more visible matters to some people. It doesn't matter necessarily to me from a utility manager standpoint. If it produces power, it's a generator that runs all day without fuel. So you're going to have a profit there. But what matters to some people is the economic development aspect of it. When they travel through town or what have you, they're going to see that, hey, by the way, Kennett looks like a progressive, innovative community. And that's what everybody's looking for in today's world.
Same reason we flipped the intersections on the bypass to a year ahead is to try to make the community look good as people came down the bypass. Same thing here, and then to try to, anything that we can get to support economic development, we gotta do.
You gotta be practical, you gotta be unique, you gotta be innovative. And, you know, instead of us being a cookie cutter community like so many in the Midwest that are also struggling, we're struggling, but we're looking forward to the future, to a brighter future, and that's where we're at with this project. Will it benefit us? Yes, it will, because, you know, if you can get power off a generator that's running with no fuel, that's not a bad deal. It's like the street lights. They cost us money to put in, but in 3 years they pay for themselves, and then we're done. So it's a profit every night.
Those street lights look great.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had a lot of positives about that because they are brighter than the old lights, and that's what people
Yeah, I noticed
appreciate
that.
today.
That's nice.
They appreciate that. So we've also got another big generation project going. I'll tell you while I'm here, if I can. It's about a 20 megawatt reciprocating stations. We're looking at 2 of them, and they're going to be about $22 million for those. And we're hoping to locate those up behind ARI. So we've already got some engineering preliminary work done on that, and we'll be moving on, doing some soil testing up there. We've already done some preliminary, and we'll do some more soon. And Mr. McVeigh has helped us, we've kept you busy with engineering contracts and what have you lately, so we've got a lot of things going on. And if I can answer any questions about the solar, I'm sorry I was going to track here, but the solar property, I'll be glad to.
Who's going to benefit from this, sir?
Well, it'll be the city of Kennett overall. Now, there may be other people that we don't know yet, because there are some companies that are here that are what are called RE100 corporations. RE100 stands for 100% renewable energy. And that's what they've done is made a commitment that in some target date out in the future, there'll be 100% renewable energy, which is solar or wind or what have you. We can't very well do wind here, but we can do some solar.
The reason I ask, this kind of puts us in a very tight spot. Now, I agree this needs to be done, but the questions that I've had to answer, why are we having an increase in our utilities, and then they're wanting to do this to try to help us? A lot of people are not understanding that, so if you could shed some light on that, I'd really appreciate it.
Good question. There are certain things that are rate drivers. The $22 million power plant that I just mentioned, that's a rate driver. We don't have that in reserve. We're not even close to that. We're gonna have to borrow the money. We knew that about 6 or 7 years ago. Don't know how deep I want to get with this, but anyway, you know we've got a power plant here in town. We've had it since 1941. We learned a few years ago when we were buying power from Plum Point in Osceola, Arkansas, we were paying some very big prices. We learned that we could leverage our power plant right here in town against that and just buy electricity only, not provide the capacity to generate. We can do that ourselves. We didn't have to buy it. That saved $400,000 a month. Now that's a lot of money. Why are you raising my rates today? Well, the power plant was built in 1941, or parts of it was. We got a bid out for demolishing part of it. But when we demolish part of it, we got to replace it. So we got a $22 million plant to build out there, and we hope to be online with it the end of next year.
Like I said, I agree with what you're doing, and I think it's going to be a great thing for the city.
Yeah.
But I've got to have something to be able to tell people when they ask me about this, you know, because they're not looking at 20 years down the road. They're looking for Friday, how I'm going to put groceries in the refrigerator and pay the utility bill at the same time. So now I can at least kind of give them, you know, a little bit more information about what's actually going on.
Right. I hope that helps, and any time, you know, I'd be glad to explain it better if I could. We're saving money by having our local generation, but we got to replace it and buy more. We've had rate increases. We've had 6 rate increases in the past 7 years, and that doesn't sound very good. I'm not bragging about that, but here's what I will brag about: we're still the cheapest, except for Perryville, Arkansas, and we're a few cents off of them, and they're 4 times our size load-wise. So I don't think we should be cheaper than them, but that's, you know, I'd like to be, but I don't think it's possible.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're trying to do. You make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you were able to shed some light on that.
I hope it cleared it up.
Our newest generator is how old?
It was put in 2000, so 20 years.
20 years now.
That's our newest.
Like my car.
Explain to me, if you would, what the negatives would be if we, instead of using the 6.8 acres there on the bypass, which in my mind is pretty nice real estate for future development, and moving your project to the north onto city property that is adjacent to that. You know, 6.8 acres, and that's a matter of a couple hundred yards. It's not very much distance from the bypass to the existing tree line. And it seems to me like if we took, in that situation, just took out the tree line, you would have equal visibility, and you wouldn't have to spend $100,000.
That's a good thought. It's a good comment. Again, I think from the way we see it and the way we hear it, the best place to have it is up near the major highway where people can see it.
They'd be able to see it. Well, if you move it back 200 yards, that's not a whole lot of distance. I think most people can probably see that.
It's possible. I said, one thing about this is, if we buy the property, it will be city property, city of Kennett property.
Sure.
And so it's whatever, if we decide, or the city decides we get some better use for it, then it's city property.
I have a question,
So you could take all these solar panels and move them when the city wants to build a new fire station there?
Let it be about 3 years from now, and
How much of the actual real estate will be covered in these solar panels that you're going, on the proposed location?
Yeah.
How much of that? would you
It'll
say?
be pretty much all of it. Of course, there'll be areas that have to be, you'll have a row of panels and then a clear area and then another row of panels so they can't shade each other.
Okay, with that being said, if this works the way you're wanting to, the way everyone's wanting it to, and you decide you want to expand, you're gonna run out of room. What are we gonna do then?
Well, if we wanted to expand this, the solar generation facility, it's probably looking at somewhere else then. But again, you know, we've got the big facility up where people can see it.
They could expand where
We
Mr.
might want
Freeman
to go,
said.
as
back
Mr.
on the
Freeman
back side of the
says,
street.
farther to the north.
Or we could put the whole thing at the Congress and wouldn't have to worry about moving everything around.
Well, what about that, as I refer to it, the lumpy property that has all the concrete and stuff on in the compress area that can't be used for anything?
South end of the conference.
Where is that? The huh?
South end of the
Yeah.
conference.
Is that, I don't even know how big it is.
It's 10, 12 acres at least.
Isn't there visibility there?
Sure.
Not human visibility from the sun, yes.
No, I'm talking about like
Got a lot of
when the
traffic.
sports and
Sports
the,
and
all
You
of
can also
that.
see it from St. Francis, or from First Street.
Or if it's big enough, you'd be able to see it from a bypass.
Sure.
I mean, if it works and it continues to grow.
I mean, 'cause I want it to be visible as well, but if we can save money, that would do all of it.
So your question was,
But yeah, it really
give
was
them
a
a
statement,
loss.
wasn't it? But have you looked at, have you considered that property?
We did.
And what was the reason?
Again, what you want is a high traffic area.
Right.
Now that's
Now, that's not as high traffic as what you're
theoretically
talking.
visible from Floyd Street or maybe from First Street, but how visible is it gonna be when I'm watching 4 lanes of traffic?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why our choice was on the bypass.
Do you think that any prospective people coming into town would not look at like a web page or a Facebook page or something where we'd have that plastered all over in the first place, as opposed to just driving through and, oh, there's a solar farm there? I kind of think they'd look at the website or the Facebook page most likely before they ever came.
It's possible.
So in that case, that would reduce the need for upfront visibility, you know, right there on the highway. Because on the highway, you've got an awful lot of people just driving through, they go, oh, that's nice. And that's about it. There's not a whole lot of what I'd call industrial or people thinking about moving to Kennett, just driving by the highway and be impressed with something like that necessarily. I mean, it might happen, but if I was going to move to a community with my business, I'd probably look at their webpage and their, I don't do Facebook, but my wife would probably look at it and tell them something.
Yes, you would.
I understand.
Yeah, things like that. So, you know, to me, the visibility thing is good, but not paramount. I think.
So you're saying it's good, just not $100,000 good?
It's not $100,000 good, but I've got constituents in my ward who are, like Mr. McKeon said, are worried about putting bread on the table on Friday night.
It's just really hard for us to argue that point to them where, yeah, we know your rates are gonna go up, but we're gonna save you by spending $100,000. I understand why we're doing it and how it would save in the long run, but
The
these
perception
people I
is-
know are not looking at, they're not looking for the long run.
Perception's reality.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of what we have to deal with, I mean, every day.
I do understand. I do understand, but that's why I'm standing before you today to say this is the right move for the city of Kennett.
Oh, like I said, I agree.
Because it is that 15 years down the road.
Well, if you can't get to, if you can't make it to 15 years to reap the benefits, it's hard to sell that to somebody.
And I fear what will happen to us, you know, if we don't.
How long do these panels last, roundabout?
30 years. And that's with a reduction a slight reduction like 0.5% every year. And the reason that they're saying 30 years is because that's all the history that they've got. there's more out there to life to it, but they don't know yet what they'll do.
I am all for the solar panels. I think they've already proven themselves. I completely am. I just think it'd be nice to save 100 grand.
It's 4% of the overall cost of the project to have it where we think it should be.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's, if we're going to, I put it like this to you, if we're going to do it, I'm saying before you that I believe it's the right move to put it there.
4%.
If the city's just said, no, that's not the thing we want to do as far as purchasing that property, would that kill the project completely?
It's tough to
What's
say.
plan B?
Plan B would be to go back to the board and say, do we want to do this at all? Or do we want to reject the solar panel thing and suffer whatever we suffer from it?
For 100 grand?
From what I'm gathering from this body, everybody wants to do it. It's just the problem of where. It's the problem of spending money when we have properties available that would do the same thing for free.
Right.
I think that's the issue.
Yeah, pretty much. It's $14,000 an acre that's an issue, or whatever.
14.7.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Mr. Palmer, you made a comment the other night in a meeting. Do you remember the comment you made about the CLGW board?
Oh, yes.
Would you like to?
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of surprised to have you out here, and part of the reason is because we've voted on board members, and we voted who we thought should be, who we thought is the best person to be on this board to make these decisions. And now what we're doing is second guessing some of this decisions that they have made. And I think, you know, everybody that runs a committee, you don't want to be second guessed. I mean, the first question I ask is this what the committee wants? Is this what the chief wants? Whatever. And I think it's that is so with this as well. I see no reason to have the board that you have if we're gonna second guess them. Now, I think discussion and what we're doing is good, but I do believe that if that's what that board has researched and decided is appropriate, then I feel like I have to go that way, because otherwise there's no sense in having that board.
Thank you.
Well, just like in the committee meetings, committee meetings brings these things to the council.
For discussion.
For discussion almost immediately. In this case, we've had an ordinance drawn up, there's been a lot of discussion, and we were all unaware of it until the ordinance laid on our desk.
And like I said, I think discussion is good. I think anytime we
think
inhibit discussion, we have problems with our basic foundation.
You know,
So I think discussion is good, but I feel comfortable in that if whatever committee you're running and you come out here and you tell me, I found out this and this is what I want to do, I feel like I have to trust you. And same with any of the other committees that people head up. I'm counting on everybody's integrity to do their best to find the right answer to the problem. And these it's three board members, correct? We voted, Four, I'm sorry. We voted on them for that reason. I think we have a good board down there to make decisions, so it's just part of discussion.
So you said $100,000, so you said the property is less than 4% of the total cost of the solar?
Yes.
Do we have any other questions? We'll go ahead and have a second reading then.
No, well, that first reading that was never approved.
Okay.
First reading is an ordinance authorizing the city of Kennett, Missouri, acting by and through the Kennett Board of Public Works to purchase property located on the south bypass in the city. And I'll remind you that on this vote, all you're doing is approving the reading.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
There we go.
Second reading, an ordinance authorizing the city of Kennett, Missouri, acting by and through the Kennett Board of Public Works, to purchase property located on the south bypass in the city.
All right, this is a roll call. Jake?
I like what we're trying to do, but I cannot vote on it. I cannot vote yes on this.
To abstain on this.
No.
Yes.
Mine's gonna be on the 4%. I think the 4% is the land. And like Bill said, with the board, that's what they're for. I'm gonna vote yes.
Yes. Okay, or no, Nick?
I'm gonna go with Hunter on that one. I mean, that's just asked the question, 4%. I mean, if you're gonna spend that much money wherever, what's another 4% to put it? I mean, if you built it behind the place for free, you're still spending whatever, 90. So yes.
I believe in what they're doing. I also feel like that's a really good piece of property. And I would hate it if we got a great business that wanted to come in there and you're like, oh, well, wait, we'll just take up our solar panels. So for that reason, I say no.
Yes.
No.
Ordinance fails. Had a 5-3 vote, which have to have 6 votes to pass an ordinance.
Okay. New business. Approval of an ordinance for the municipal agreement.
This is to approve the agreement that you approved last time, but MoDOT wanted an ordinance. It's for MoDOT to asphalt the north bypass. First reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign on behalf of the city of Kennett, Missouri, and the city clerk to attest thereto an agreement between the city of Kennett and Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission providing for asphalt resurfacing of Route E in the city.
Motion.
Discussion. Discussion. Does that include a,
Shoulder.
shoulder, yeah, we were
Yes.
pushing to get it, does.
Yes.
Excellent.
We do.
Okay.
Talking about what, like adding 4 foot?
4-foot shoulder?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause the hole in the bull thing,
It won't be a
Yeah,
full
that's-
shoulder. It won't be a full shoulder, it'll only be a partial shoulder, from what they told me.
But it will,
4 foot.
there will be
It'll be-
improvements to the shoulder.
Wider, yeah,
4 foot better than
to,
nothing.
to accommodate agricultural equipment.
Okay.
Be a lot better than what it is.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that? I think it was Randy.
Barry and Bill.
Second reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign on behalf of the city of Kennett, Missouri, and the city clerk to attest thereto an agreement between the city of Kennett and Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission providing for asphalt resurfacing of Route E in the city.
Motion.
Second.
I'll start over here on the right for roll call. Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
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 That one passes.
That one passes. And then, each one of you have the city financial annual report that ended June 30, 2019. You have that with you.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mayor's report. Well, like I've said on the newspaper and with the radio station, let's see if I can get the wording here correct. I am pleased and excited about the opportunities that have been put forth by different organizations that are looking at putting in a hospital within the city limits of Kennett. Today we had another meeting with another group. Thursday we have a meeting with another group. So there is a lot of activity. Are we gonna go out and tell you who these groups are? No, we can't. Because most of these companies, just like the ones that come in and look at the Parker and Manac building to purchase. There was another group out there just in the past week, but they did not leave a business card, they did not leave anything except what their first names were. Because they don't want people knowing who they are, what they're looking for, and what group, because somebody may raise the price, or somebody may, say something that doesn't need to be said. But it's still, I am happy to report that I'm excited about the opportunities that have been put forth by different organizations and groups that are looking at the town of Kennett for a new possible hospital. And we've got, like I said, we had a meeting today, we got one Thursday. So we've got a lot coming up in the near future. So hopefully sometime in the near future, we're going to be able to sit up here and say, hey, we have ink on paper, we have, some shovels that are ready to hit the ground, but we have no idea. All these groups could pull out in a moment's notice, but at least they are still here, and they've been here for several months now, asking questions, wanting more information. And some of the information that they wanted was that little black handout, our city financials. And that's what they're looking at right now. So it's a lot of information is being put out there, and they're requesting it, and we're getting it to them as soon as possible. So please give us time. We're working on it, and we're working hard with it. And that's what I have on the mayor's report. Public comment. That'd be your time.
No.
If you'd like to come up here in the front.
Okay, I don't wanna waste people's time. Everybody else here is talking about money. And I'm just a little peon in this town, but I work every day. My home burned Christmas Eve. I have money to build. I didn't have insurance in the place. Didn't ask for any help, other than I've worn out several people's phones. One of them isn't here. And I've worn him out, and I've worn yours out. And I'm sorry to bug you. But you try to talk to somebody like the city code enforcement, and you tell, hey, look, I can leave this town. And you know what his attitude is? I don't care. I can't find anybody in Kennett, Missouri that doesn't have a beef with me. And it's not because of codes, okay? I asked to get to build my home back. That's all I want to do, with the peace of not being tormented about it, okay? Victor Moe went to 2 other businesses here in this area to seek advice, which he doesn't know anything about. He told me he hasn't built a home. He asked him about the blocks of my building. Okay? Chancey's store over here on Russell is a block building. I don't know what he's got about a block building. That's what I ain't figured out. I think it's something personal against block buildings. Maybe it looks bad. I don't know. It's an old building. It was an old church. I want to keep it. That's the only reason I bought it, because of that place. Otherwise, I would have cared on less. He's tormenting me about it. Then, when I go buy a travel trailer to live in for a couple of weeks while I'm trying to build, he shows up at my mom's and tells me, you gotta leave or I'm gonna cut the electric off your mom's place. Okay? That's, it's just getting old. And I've been for a whole month trying to get a building permit. Okay? And there's codes to follow, but that's got nothing to do with the codes. I'm trying to get a building permit. I got backhoes over here cleaning the place up. I don't have funds to go clean up in a day's time, or I already would have. But I can use the money I've got to build a home. Is that too much to ask?
In a way.
How?
That, for my part, from talking with Chief Spain, Victor Moe, several people on this board, we've asked for one thing, safety. We cannot offer you a building permit for a building that we're afraid will fall and collapse.
Is that going to...
Hang on. We gotta give you your time to speak. Now then, we have asked you to clean it up and allow an inspection. We've even had an engineer sent out, one of his helpers, to take pictures. His report was, please clean it up so he can inspect it while he's going through cancer treatments, inspect it and sign off. We are not in the process of giving out a building permit to something that is unsafe, so that, yes, once you do start building, a child comes walking by and a brick falls off and hits them. All right? You didn't have insurance on it now, you probably wouldn't have it on in the future. But hang on. So then, who are they gonna sue? They're gonna sue the city. They're gonna sue the city because we gave a building permit to an unsafe building.
Well, what's the
And
difference
so-
with a bond? I'll take out another bond down the place.
It's still, that's not going to cover if a brick wall, and you're afraid that by taking out the center sections,
I don't want to take it.
that the walls will fall in.
No,
or
not
out.
fall in, the wind could blow the whole wall.
Okay, so that right there, I'm not a construction person. You know, I've done a little bit of building, but that right there tells me if the wind can blow it down, it is an unsafe building.
He's trying to say that there's.
And so, but we are living, Victor has tried building over backwards. I went as far as,
From the whole day, like
for trying to get
everybody
you
else in town.
your fifth wheel. I checked with Mr. Terry here, went to CLGW, and we were gonna be able to give you, instead of running an extension cord across the road, which
It was a
is
couple weeks
unsafe,
till I got everything done, but I
that we
was
talked,
gonna
and all you had to do was contact Odell up there, and for 6 months, you know, it's not proper to live in a mobile home, but while you're rebuilding, I worked out a deal for you for
And I
6
know
months for you
300
to get an
people right
electric,
now in campers are living
Hang
in
on.
mobile home campers. Not home.
to allow you to live in your fifth wheel and to live in there with an electric meter from CLGW, so you didn't have to run an electric cord, because that is unsafe and not proper. You turned that down.
No, you put an ad at
I-
the end of it. You told me after 6 months.
Yeah, we're
correct me
gonna
if I'm
pull
wrong, they're
it,
gonna
because
pull
you
it.
said you can build a house
I
into, you
haven't
can
got a
build
building permit yet.
because you have not cleaned up the property and you have not been
That's
able
what-
to show us that the concrete blocks are safe. If we can get that, you
go
can
through
have your
Kent.
building permit.
And you know what people, I have to call these other companies, come get their cars from the welfare people. You know what the first thing they see in Kennett, Missouri? All the government housing. That's all's in this.
We're not talking about government housing, we're talking about the property over there. You made the mention that you even thought about selling it. How much do you want for it? You know, it's gonna take $5,000-6,000 to have David Ross come in
I
there.
cleaned the,
And
see,
clean it
you're
up.
already throwing in, that's the whole problem with this town right here. You already threw in an individual's name, not picking nobody. You already threw in, you recommended another individual company to do something.
He doesn't
Nobody
clean
should be
that.
able to do that.
I don't know of
They
anybody
shouldn't
else that
recommend-
has backhoes,
There's
excavators,
tons of them.
and everybody else that are in
Everybody's got
town that can do that type of work.
I've got a backhoe over there right now.
So the question is, do you wanna sell your property?
You wanna buy it? Give me $20,000 for it and I'll leave.
It's worth about 500.
Nah. Well, because the way you run the town, not you, but the whole city, what it's turned into, all we got is government housing, that's it.
Easy, big fella.
But what we're talking about is your piece of property
That's all
that
we
needs
got.
to be cleaned up
And I'm
in
trying to
order
clean it
for
up.
Victor to do his job properly.
Get somebody else to come out. He hasn't-
We've had somebody
he
else,
hasn't
and
even
you've had an
gathered
engineer
his-
that has asked you to do the same thing Victor did, which is clean the
Why is
property
he
up
going
so
around
that
asking other
it can be
people, other
clear
contractors, and one of them's in here,
and made
ask them
safe.
about those blocks, because he doesn't know. He doesn't know anything.
So Adam, everybody up here is bent over backwards.
Everybody knows
Whenever
that I've
you
been
clean up
trying
the
to work,
property
clean up the
so
place.
they can be inspected and everything else, then we'll send Victor out there.
Now, somebody else.
That's all we have.
Find somebody else. Hire
We can't do that.
That man has a personal endeavor against me.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
All he's doing is following the code.
Harassing.
That I have, like the text I sent you the other day, I have no other way on how to inform you,
That's
to
why
get
there's
you
no
to
business in this
understand
town.
what you need to
Can I
do.
put a 1680 house trailer on that property?
No, because it is not listed
Okay.
as a mobile home park.
So that's fine. That's what I want to know. I asked. That was the next point I was going to answer. I needed to know. Because
So
there's
whenever
already a
you-
firehouse over there that was put in after that ordinance.
So
It's temporary.
it's,
Mine's only going to be temporary too. Yeah, I'm not, you know,
So-
that's discrimination.
Whenever you have the property cleaned up so that it can be inspected, we will have an inspector out there, and as soon as it can be cleared as safe, then we will give you your building permit. Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Oh, it's, hey, after the weekend I had with him, and Marco had with him, and Jake, and everybody else, and half the other people up here,
Blessings to you all.
thank you, we'll take all the blessings we can have. So,
Motion to go into closed session.
Second that one.
all right.